इजराइल और गाजा के बीच जारी इस युद्ध में हालात बद से बदतर होते जा रहे हैं, लेकिन इजराइल जिस तरीके से एक्शन ले रहा है और भारत में भी जिस लिहाज से हालात को देखते हुए नज़र बनाई गई है। इस बीच आपको बता दूं, इस वक्त कौंसल जनरल ऑफ इजराइल जो कि बेंगलुरु से टैमी बेन हिम हमें ज्वाइन कर चुकी हैं। थैंक यू सो मच टैमी बेन हिम फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस टुडे। एंड माय वेरी फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, what do you think about the latest attack by Hamas in the state of Israel?
Yes. Thank you for taking the time and talking to me, and so we can learn more and discuss this horrific, heinous. I can't even find the word terror attack on Israel by the Hamas terror group that began on Saturday morning. And to asking how I feel, I think like every other person living in Israel, definitely the Israelis, but everybody else living in Israel, and the same I think as many of our friends and supporters feel outside of Israel. I'm shocked. I'm devastated. I haven't been able to sleep for nights, being worried about people in Israel, being worried about family, about friends, seeing these atrocities and horrors that have happened by the terrorists who attack Israel, and also what is happening now to the people, the children, the babies who were kidnapped by Hamas are being held hostage and brutalized, as we are speaking.
Right, ma'am, because there's a brutal crime against humanity that we are witnessing through all the reports. But my question is, do you really think that there is a scope of bargaining? And what is the priority that you think Israel is working on? Because we can witness that Gaza is under heavy bombardment, that is by air, sea, and tank. But the major cause is and concern is about the people.
Absolutely. You're right. The concern is the people. The concern is the civilians, the babies, the children, the women, and unarmed civilians who have been attacked by Hamas, are still being attacked by Hamas. Even this morning, we found 2 terrorists that have, that previously have infiltrated Israel, and they were neutralized. And the rockets that are being fired by the Hamas terror organization into Israeli towns against Israeli civilians. And just to be very clear, we declared war, Israel has declared war on the Hamas terror organization.
Right.
And for the past few days, the Israeli Air Force has been targeting and shooting and destroying Hamas infrastructure, Hamas weapon storage places, Hamas commanders. Our war and our strikes are aimed directly at the Hamas terror organization, not anybody else, and not any other, just against the Hamas terror organization.
That's right, ma'am, but no doubt focus is on retaliation aspect. But what we are seeing is that people are suffering in this whole scenario. Do you really think that there can be a scope of bargaining, or there can be any talks? Because, getting your own people back, or people who have been kidnapped or the hostage, how are you going to actually tackle this situation? It's a complex situation, no doubt.
It's a very complex situation. It's a very terrible situation, and there's one responsible for this situation. I can't be clear enough. The Hamas terror organization is responsible for what has been happening in Israel in the past few days and what is still happening. And you're right, it's complex. But Israel has now 3 immediate goals. The first one is to make sure that the people within Israel are safe and secure.
Right.
That is why we are still finding terrorists. We are still clearing up the areas where the terrorists infiltrated. Over 1,000 terrorists who infiltrated with rockets, with automatic weapons, with grenades, with guns, with every weapon that you can think of. Over 1,000 terrorists infiltrated Israel. They killed and brutalized babies, children, women, the elderly. Okay, this is our first, to make sure that Israel, everybody in Israel is safe and secure.
Right.
The second goal is, which we are going to do, is to free the hostages, to free the dozens of people who are being held again and brutalized at the moment by the Hamas terror group. And the third goal is to make sure that we devastate Hamas, that we destroy their infrastructure, and make it sure and clear that they cannot have such an attack, cannot even think of having such an attack against civilians again.
So the third point that you mentioned, is there a fear of escalation of war? Because how far it will go in terms of retaliation?
Again, it's not, well, okay. We'll go as far as we need to do. Israel will do everything that it needs to do to ensure these three goals that I spoke about. To make sure that this kind of attack cannot be repeated. To send, one, to destroy Hamas, and to send a very clear message to Hamas and to other terror organizations. Some are targeting Israel, but some are targeting other countries in the world. And this is what we need to keep in mind everywhere. We've been experiencing terror attacks for 75 years. This is perhaps the most atrocious, the most heinous one, but we've experienced terror attacks for many years. Other countries have also experienced terror attacks. We must be very clear. These terror organizations have to be destroyed. They have to be destroyed. Their weapons, their infrastructure, their ability to attack other civilians has to be stopped.
Truly, agree to your point. We've seen that while America, a strategic partner, has already come in front, what do you expect from other allies like India and the other countries?
I think, we've seen, definitely the U.S. administration and the USA itself has put itself behind, has spoken very, very clearly in support of Israel's fight against this terror organization. But so has Prime Minister Modi and India. They've taken a very clear stance as well. Just yesterday, there was a call between our two prime ministers. Right. But we've seen it everywhere. We've seen countries and governments in Europe, in South America, Australia. Everybody is aligned at the moment. Everybody understands the atrocities. Everybody understands that we must put an end to this terror organization. And again, it's important, of course, to stop what is happening now against the people in Israel, Israelis and foreigners alike. But it's a good, clear message that the world is sending right now to other terrorist organizations that this will not be accepted.
Right. As we talk, you have joined us from Bangalore, right? And in the state of Karnataka also, are there a lot of families and people who are getting in touch to be aware of the fact that what's the ground reality and how are their people in Israel? In what circumstances and in what condition?
You're talking about the Israeli families here, or actually the Indians who have family members?
The Indians who are in Israel and their families getting in touch with you, because we know the CM of Karnataka issued a helpline number also for the families.
Yes. We know of quite a few people who are in Israel. We're always proud of all the Indians who are in Israel. Many are our biggest foreign student group is from India every year, and we're very happy about that our universities are collaborating, that there are Indian students doing their postdocs and research and are invested in many, many parts of Israeli society. Definitely in Bangalore, but in India in general, we also have people working in high tech and entrepreneurship in varied fields that are in Israel. Some have already left as our airport is open and functioning. And some have decided, at least for the moment, to stay. And I think, one, we're gaining a lot of strength, the same as we do from the support that we get. We gain a lot of strength from our Indian friends who have decided to stay, and we're at war. It's not an easy situation. It's a scary situation. It's a very stressful situation, and we're very encouraged by the fact that they trust Israel. They trust us enough to stay with us. But Israel takes care of its citizens. We have, because, very sadly, we're used to war. We've had terror attacks in the past. Each house, each apartment has a shelter room. In public areas, there are different types of shelters. We send messages on mobile phones and through other means for people, not for anybody who is in Israel at the moment, when they need to go and shelter, whether in place, as I said, or in public shelters. And people are following these instructions. Right. So we're trying to make as sure as possible. And as I said, that's the first goal of our army at the moment and everybody in Israel at the moment to make sure that everybody who is in Israel is safe and secure.
Right. This is the last question to you. What happened on October 7? Will that be investigated? I'm asking you on the fact that there are a lot of questions being raised. Anything that went out wrong, or we can say, was it a failure of your own intelligence and surveillance at some level? Will that be investigated later? Because I know this complex situation is the priority to deal right now.
Yeah, exactly like you said. Look, I won't get into it. It's of no interest to me at the moment. People who are smarter and more strategic and, you know, live in the military world or the intelligence world or the cyber world will investigate it. Right now, we need to make sure that everybody is safe and secure.
Right.
But just in general, I have just to say, you know, nothing in this world is 100% fail-safe. Nothing is, you know, you can't promise anything 100%. And India has suffered terrorist attack in the past. Israel has had other terrorist attack in the past. We are working daily. We're thwarting terror attacks daily from different sources in different places. But nothing is 100%. And right now, with all this devastation that is going on, with the barbaric attacks, and every day we're finding out more as the days goes on. The main and only priority right now is to stop this.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your views with TV9 Bharatvarsh. Thank you for joining us today.